October 23, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-futures mini on the 2000 tick chart on the NinjaTrader 8 platform. This is what the charts look like today. You can look down at the descriptions below and you can see where I took my trade, my one trade, as well as where I thought I saw setups. I missed the trade. And there was no real economic data that came out today to really move the markets. It was just kind of sideways. This is the pre-market highs and the pre-market lows. For the most part, you could argue prices kind of stayed in it, but I actually saw it as one leg down, a small little correction, little pattern here, and then a rally up, and then kind of a sell off here. So I saw this kind of red channel up and a purple channel down, and the two measured legs here. So I'm going to get into the trades now. I didn't see that many setups. Price action wasn't necessarily tricky today. It's just for me, I couldn't find very many setups despite these nice big moves. This one missed trade I think might have been pretty good. So there's a pre-market. I drew the pre-market high and the pre-market low. It looked like two legs down. And at first I saw this as maybe one big leg. And in the beginning, since I was having trouble coming back and breaking past the midline, I was thinking it's going to be one leg down, pull back, and then another big leg down. So kind of a sell-off today, similar to how not today, last Friday was. Kind of sold off and then did chop and then sell off again. But as you'll see, it kind of didn't do that. So the market opens and it looks like prices are falling into this range. So I'm just watching, and I actually see this as kind of this new high, this triple test here, or micro triple top. I saw a new high first entry long, second entry long, and technically it fails. Then I saw a lower high here, but even though the lower high confirms also the second entry short, first entry, so it's like a new low, even though this is slightly lower, it's a new recent low, first entry short, second entry short, pulls back and creates a lower high. So you actually have first entry long, second entry long failure, and a lower high, and also a second entry short. I was thinking it might have been a trade, but in the real time, I didn't really like it because it is rejecting off the EMA, but the EMA is pretty flat here, and it is kind of falling within this green channel, but I didn't trust this green channel in real time yet because it just didn't have enough confirmation. Plus, there wasn't enough room to confidently scalp out because it looked like there was some kind of support right around here. Now, I actually had probably another line. I had a line drawn here, and I wasn't really sure if it was hitting some kind of support there. I just wanted a little bit more air to make sure I can get a scalp out of it. So I left it alone. Looks like it would have worked. Press then continue down, goes into what I believe is a screen channel now. There's good confirmation at the top, good confirmation at the bottom. It's coming down, it's getting close to touching the pre-market lows. It hits it, breaks out, comes back in, chops around, and now starts to reverse. So here now, I'm thinking we might be in a range-like day. Either this is the top of the range or this half line, this midline, could be the top of the range. So it actually could be from here down to here. But I'm not really sure yet, so I'm just sitting tight. I saw this as a new low. I saw first entry short, second entry short. I saw this as a higher low. The problem with this higher low, confirming the failed second entry short, which happens right here because you don't have a failure of your second entry short here yet. You do almost here, but this is a pretty bad signal bar. And if you waited for this one to confirm the failed second entry, first entry short, second entry short, and a failure for sure because it ticked one tick above. The thing I don't like is this is a very small bar and it didn't look very convincing. It was a little more neutral, and I'm going to be running into the recent highs, even though the EMA is holding, but this is the first break of the EMA. So it feels a little early to see a correction or reversal. It could chop sideways, so I decided to leave it alone. I did draw this trend line going up, and I didn't know if there was a top line yet. It could have been where this midline is, but I wasn't sure at real time. So then prices move up. It hits this. It looks like it's struggling to break through some kind of resistance here. That's where I turned this trend line into a trend channel. And I do see a new high, first entry long, but it makes another new high, so I'm just sitting on my hands. Prices then continue moving up, chops around. I don't see any clean second entries or any second entries at all. This red channel doesn't exist yet. It's only this green channel and this yellow channel. This red channel comes into play a little bit later. This is actually where I take my first trade. I saw this as a new high, saw this as a first entry long, just barely, comes back down. It doesn't touch the EMA, but when this candle opens and it breaks up, it comes back. I dropped in my order quickly, and I was able to get filled and also get out rather quickly. Now, why I like this trade is I originally had this trend line drawn up and it was touching this, so there was a little bit more overshoot here, but later I corrected it. In any case, I thought, okay, it's bouncing off of here. There's enough room to get to the top, so I decided to take an entry, and that's where I was able to get in and get out. Turns out it ends up being my only trade of the day. Price then continue moving. It falls into what I think is this blue trading range. I do see this as a new low, as a first entry short, second entry short, and as a new high here. First entry long, so it comes all the way down. The first time it breaks above is this one right here, comes up. So this one technically hasn't failed the second entry short yet, and it also hasn't confirmed the second entry long yet. This is actually, these two double tops is actually one tick below here, so it technically hasn't made a new high yet, so it's first entry long. Now everything depends on what happens on this next candle. It flashes up, so it does confirm your second entry long and your failed second entry short. Not only that, it engulfs the previous bar. The thing I don't really like about this trade is it's already pressing against the highs. It's a good signal bar, but it's already pressing against the highs of this possible range. You can argue that it's breaking out of this yellow channel and made one attempt up. It could be making a second attempt up, but here, this range looks kind of healthy. So I'm not sure if it's going to hit here and reject back down before it tries to make another push up. So it's just something I decided it's not worth taking this trade over. So I decided to just sit it out. Looks like if I did go one tick above, I would have gotten entered here. Or even if I took it above the original signal bar right here, this hammer, I would have gotten filled. But if I kept it one tick below this guy, I likely would have gotten stopped out here before I hit my profit target. So this was a little bit tricky. And prices can continue to move. I drew this smaller, more shallow green channel. Looks like it's just kind of falling into place. Let me correct it, make it look better. Then prices continue moving. You do have a new high here, first entry long, second entry long, but this is a terrible signal bar. I don't like this, so I just decided to leave it alone. Prices then continue chopping up. At this point, I do draw what I think could be this red channel, but I actually drew it across the top first. I drew this trend line. It actually came down a little bit lower, but I wasn't really sure where the bottom was. I did put one temporary holder down here, thinking this is a rather wide range, so it's not very helpful at this point. So I had to just kind of wait and see. Just received a phone call, so I'm going to continue now. Prices then, one push up, first leg, so it's new high, first leg, second entry long, but it's a good signal bar. It's below the EMA. I don't really like that. Just watching, waiting. It falls into this orange channel, comes back down, kind of confirms where I think my bottom of my red channel is right here. But unfortunately, I don't see a good trade yet. Is it first entry short? Technically, I have a second entry short, but you also see it as one leg up, pull back, and this can be coming up. Then it kind of keeps chopping. Okay, I actually had another interruption. So then prices are bouncing off the EMA. It's kind of moving sideways right now. I do see a second entry long here. It's a first entry long right here. Comes down, creates the second entry long. Now, when I see this candle, I'm not prepared to take a trade because even though it is a bullish candle, it's not a very good setup. It just doesn't look convincing. Maybe if it bounced off the EMA and held above the EMA, I would have taken it. But I saw it, and when this closed, then I knew, okay, definitely it's a second entry long. It's not a trade to take though, and there is a potential triple test, 1, 2, 3. But again, when you see this in real time, at least I didn't think there's a possible trade to go long yet. It was more of a just sit on my hands. Then it comes back down. I actually see this higher low, and I think this is actually a decent trade. It confirms the second entry long. It's a good signal bar. This signal bar engulfs the previous candle, so it's a very, very strong move. And there's still enough room to enter one tick above and get to the top before you hit the top of the range. I didn't take it though, and prices continue moving. I also saw a higher low here. So technically you have a higher low, which confirms the failed second short setup because I could see this as pretty much like a new low here, first entry short, second entry short, pulls back, and then you have a higher low here. But this is very congested. These candles are very tight. On top of that, it's already pushing against this localized high, the triple micro triple top right here. These all have the same top. Even though the high is way over here, it's giving me pause because it tried to push up once, it failed the second time, it failed a third time, and now on this candle, it had to run all the way up here. I don't know, or I'm not confident to say that it's actually going to break through, so it feels risky to take a long. Plus, I was playing off of the range here, so this could have been a failed breakout and come right back down. Turns out it kept going up and then it had this big flash down. When this one printed, there was no news, so I don't know what the heck happened here. Then prices continue moving, goes into this green, smaller green channel. I'm just watching. And here I'm just sitting on my hands. It's kind of just, the EMA is supporting, but there's no clean entry. And you do have a new high here. It's a first entry long. Technically, you have a second entry long here, but you also have a new low here. It's a first entry short, second entry short. Now, this second entry short is kind of a very interesting setup that I saw. I don't know if it was a good trade because for me, I would have to wait to see this candle close because this is a very long tail. So it's clearly a lot of sellers came in. It opened here and pressed it not only past the open, but one tick below. So when you see this and it flashes up, it gives you pause because even though it's a very strong candle, it didn't press above this high. So even though it's a new low, it's a first entry short, pull back. This is second entry short. To take this next entry to think it's going to be a failed second entry short feels very risky. You do have a new high here. It's a first entry long, pullback, decent signal bar, second entry long. But if you didn't get in on this candle, now that you see this, you might feel there's enough momentum to push it through, at least for a tick. I wasn't sure, so I'm not sure, so I had to wait because it's kind of right along the pre-market highs too. This is the pre-market highs. The official one is this blue dotted line. The where I drew it is this gray line. So you're dancing with all this potential variable to both reject you back down, or if it holds, push you back up. So it wasn't clear to me which way it was going, so I just had to sit on my hands. And prices did push up and push through. It falls into what I think is this yellow channel because it had three good touches on the top and three good touches on the bottom, but it's breaking out now. So I'm just watching. Comes back down. It confirms this red channel going up, which I'm pretty happy with now. It has one first entry short. Technically, I have a second entry short and potentially a failure, but it hasn't failed yet. And it did not fail. So it's very good that, for me, I didn't jump the gun because the first entry short, second entry short, technically hasn't failed yet. And it continues back down. Then this is where the failure is going to occur right here. But this is already too far from the setup. And prices continue moving down. It breaks through this red channel now, has this overshoot of this yellow channel, and it comes up, and it looks like it's trying to re-enter the red channel. I'm just sitting on my hands. I'm not really sure what's going on. I see this as a larger trading range, this blue one. It flashes up. There was no clean way that I could see to enter safely. If there was, then, well, obviously my experience level and how long I've been staring at charts isn't enough to tell me there's any kind of safe trade here. I do see a new high. It's a first entry long here, pull back, and then this creates a second entry long. Now, I thought this was a possible trade in real time, but I wasn't sure about my chart reading skills because what I did like is this is the green channel going up. It's the first break. This could be the first attempt to push up and test this high. So that's one thing going forward. The second thing is it's a pretty decent signal bar and it's holding above the EMA. So this is a possible trade, but for whatever reason, I just wasn't super sure, so I left it alone. Turns out it ran away. Right here, I was looking, when this was running away, I was thinking maybe it's going to come back for me for a lower high. So I was hunting for, excuse me, a higher low. So I saw a higher low here, but I knew I need to make sure it is a higher low. So I then saw this and I go, okay, this could be a higher low, except I don't like the fact that it closed below the EMA. And definitely when it created this, I'm not looking for a higher low anymore. I abandoned all ideas of going long because the trade was already made here. Then prices continue moving. It breaks past this red channel. And here I draw this for one touch, two touch, three touch down, and also for two touches here. And as you can see in the earlier, I had these two smaller channels drawn just to see if I could decipher what's going on. But right now it looks like it's falling into this yellow channel, then it breaks out. And this is actually where I missed a trade. I tried to enter, but I did get filled. So it's a missed trade, it's a new low. It's a first entry short, pullback, second entry short. Now, when I saw the second entry short, it is rather neutral. And I'm thinking, if this is a failure, this could be a correction back up into the nice larger red channel. And so what I was looking for is a good reason to enter. But this is a second entry short that has not failed yet. So here, it also has not failed yet. So it's a first entry short, second entry short. It did break out of this green channel, make a new high, and I was thinking, this is a very strong green bar. It still hasn't failed yet. So this is where I actually tried to enter. When it opened here, it was moving around. It flashed down. I thought, okay, it might not, it is probably too dangerous. Then it went back up and it started dancing around in this part. That's where I dropped in my order pretty much at the highs of this candle. As you can see, it bounced around, but it never came back for me. And when it closed here, the scalp profit target that I was looking for has already been made. So I had to abandon it now. So I tried to enter here. I missed it on the failed second entry short. And the only thing I could hope for now is that prices will come back and create a higher low for me. Comes back, and again, I'm looking for higher lows. This potentially could be a higher low, but I wanted to touch the EMA. It came back. It's getting really close to the EMA, but I don't like the setup anymore because this is a very, very bearish bar. Then it breaks through. So here, if the trade wasn't made here, I wasn't going to try to force it now. So I just abandoned all hopes of trying to get a trade to salvage this setup. Prices then continue down. I don't have this blue range drawn yet, but I did think there's some kind of support here because there's some kind of reaction. Jumps around. Again, it has a good, some kind of reaction here. Goes down, breaks. It was a new high, first entry long, second entry long. It's a terrible signal bar. I had this as a potential top resistance, and I had this as a potential bottom support, but I didn't like the looks of the signal bar to feel confident. If only this had closed a little bit more bullish, then I might have taken a trade for a correction. Also saw this as a new low, first entry short, second entry short. This is a lower high here. Confirms the second entry short, and it is below the pre-market high, but it's right there, so it could also bounce. So it gave me a little bit of pause. I wasn't sure which way it was going to go. And prices continue moving. It goes up, almost touches the top of the purple range, or purple channel coming down. Then it continues chopping in this big consolidated area. I do see a new low here. So first entry short, second entry short, but this is a terrible signal bar. It's too high up. Then it breaks through, comes down, chops a little bit more. I don't see anything I really like. I did see this, but I didn't really recognize it until I went back and looked at it. So in real time, I didn't even notice this, but I saw this as a new low. It's a first entry short, pulls back, breaks above, and comes back down. So this is actually where your second entry short is. It's hidden, and it's bouncing off, rejecting by the EMA, which is pretty nice. I also saw this as a lower high. So I saw this as a new high. You get a first entry long here. Technically you have a second entry long, but I saw this as one leg down here as first entry long, and then it pulls back on this candle, comes back up. This is your second entry long. Technically, you by the count, you do have a third entry long. So it's actually here, first entry long, comes all the way down, second entry long, third entry long. But the way I saw it is more of a one big leg down, kind of something like this. And then I saw one leg down, pulls up. This is a very definitive first entry long, even though it's technically second, pulls back on the very definitive pullback, and then the second entry long. So then I also saw this coming up, and I saw this as a lower high. Technically, this lower high is made here, but I saw something like that, and I thought, okay, well, is this worth a trade? Potentially, because it is being rejected off the EMA, which is pretty important. And depending on how you drew your channel, and I didn't have this in real time, you could say there's rejection off this green down channel to give you another piece of reason to go short. So I didn't see this in real time, and even now, I don't think I would have taken this trade anyways. It feels a little convoluted and complicated, but definitely you had enough room to scalp out. So no hard feelings about missing this trade because I think I could have gotten bit too. Prices then continue down. Then I do draw this green channel because I feel pretty confident this is a channel now. Breaks through, tops, and then now it breaks up, and it looks like it's re-entering the purple. But this is very close to the end of the day, so I'm not really looking to take a trade. I was just kind of content with my one profitable trade. And prices just continue moving, and it just kind of goes into the close. So it's rather wasn't very fruitful. There wasn't that many setups that I could find to feel confident taking an entry on. But overall, just the one trade I took, even though it wasn't the best one, I was pretty okay with it. And then I missed this trade over here. And unfortunately, since I missed it because I was just waiting for just the right confirmation, I think depending on how you took it, how earlier I entered, maybe I could have actually entered. But the setup here I thought was decent, and it was just happened to be that I wasn't my order wasn't in time to catch this run right here. So hopefully that was helpful.